So our topic this month is just to review what realtors really want and need from loan officers. During the market the way that it is now, it's really important to spend time building relationships and nurturing those relationships. And we thought, why not go straight to the source and ask exactly what they're looking for? Before we hop into that content, we do like to start off our webinars each month with just a little summary of what's going on in the market and what we've been seeing. Since we did have a break last month, some of these are just kind of spreading over what we've seen through the summer. So homes are spending more time on the market than they were in July, but they're still faster than pre-pandemic. So although things are slowing, we're still in a better spot than we were 3 years ago. The median price of homes dropped a bit for the 5th month in a row. It was nothing drastic, but as prices go down, hopefully there will be more opportunities for additional buyers in the market. The next was there was a break in rate hikes in June, but since then there have been several increases, including one this week. So things are continuing to go up. We haven't really seen any breaks that they were hoping would happen in the second half of this year, but hopefully we will see those. And then on that note, both Fannie Mae and Mortgage Bankers Association forecast rates to drop a bit slightly between now and Q2 of 2024. But of course, those are all still predictions and speculative. It's good to see that those organizations are still thinking that. We were hearing that earlier in this year. So good to see we're still hearing it. Hopefully those rates will drop. And again, we'll just allow more people to be able to purchase homes. Now we're going to hop into what we heard from realtors. And just a reminder, feel free to throw any questions in the chat along the way. We'll definitely be pausing to answer any questions. Okay. So what are some realtor relationship myths? So there's tons of different things you can see online. There's just so much that you can hear that they're looking for. But every realtor that we spoke with shared some pretty similar feedback. The first is, while coffee is a nice idea, most realtors are just too busy to go get a coffee, to go get a lunch. They need to be out there showing people houses, trying to sell them. So keep that in mind when reaching out. They're really, that they might be nice and say, yeah, let's go get coffee, but they're really wanting to make sure they're out there doing business as well as you're in the office closing loans. The next is that open houses can be a great opportunity to build relationships with those people, but definitely don't just show up unannounced. Definitely have a plan if you were to attend. Some people shared feedback that if you're going to be there, maybe mention and have conversations about being those people's LOs and things like that. And again, have that plan with that realtor prior to showing up. And finally, the last myth is that rates matter. So of course rates matter, but to figure out how to get those people able to close a loan, able to buy a house, that's really more important to them. So figuring out ways to set yourself apart from the competition is really just highlighting the advantages that you can bring those borrowers and not so much the rates that you can offer. And now I'm going to kick it over to my team member, Leslie, and she'll take over the additional feedback that we heard.
All right. Thank you, Paisley. Let me do a quick switcheroo here. All right. So yes, Paisley talked about the myths, that you may have heard, you may have tried some of these before, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. But just right now, especially, you are taxed with your time and resources. Realtors are the same. So we talked about some myths, right? So what maybe isn't working so well right now? So what does work? Again, we got really strong themes from all the realtors we spoke with, and we kind of put them into these 4 categories of what really works and resonates with them. Of course, there's no silver bullet. There's no easy button you can push. There was no one answer that we thought, okay, good, we've cracked the code. But there are things that you can be doing. Maybe you already are, and this can just solidify your strategy, or maybe give you some things to think about if you're not doing those. So, firstly, they almost all requested weekly updates from their loan officer partners. So that can be something just very simple, like what we shared at the beginning of this webinar, just a couple of bullet points, what rates are this week, any big news in the marketplace that's happening, things that you can go out they may not have time to have their finger on the pulse of the market and rates quite like you do. So you can become that subject matter expert for them. And that's something they can know to expect from you on a weekly basis. And that can be really helpful. And then just another touch point. So your name is in front of them and they can think, oh, I'm going to get my email from Joe Smith this week and he's going to tell me what's happening in the market. So that was something they recommended that would be really helpful for them and help them to stand out, help you to stand out in their eyes. Another thing, just kind of taking off of, we talked about open houses. So, you don't just want to show up to an open house unannounced without a plan and just, expect the realtor to want to work with you. So what are some things that you can do? And if you are graphically inclined or, like to just put together a simple flyer, you can even do this, if you're not graphically inclined, there's programs out there that help you put things together really simply. And you can create a flyer, a co-branded flyer that lists the realtor, his or her information, your information, some information about the home itself to have on hand. And that way, potential buyers can come in and say, okay, here's my realtor. Oh, and here's somebody I can work with on the mortgage side. You can also, provide lender sheets. That's another value add that you can offer of, some financing options that would pertain to that particular property. So that puts you in partnership with the realtor and gives some value to what you're offering instead of just kind of expecting the relationship to happen. Make yourself valuable. Of course, you want to ask before doing this and, make sure anything that you're putting together and with the written word, passes your internal compliance. But that's another thing that the realtors we spoke with, I think overwhelmingly said these types of content pieces would be really helpful when it comes to open house if you want to connect with them in that way. And then thirdly, kind of the blanket customer service, but really specifically, the realtors talked about holding the borrower's hand through the process. They said if they want to work with a loan officer, they want to know that that loan officer is really going to take the time to take care of their borrowers. My husband and I bought our first home a couple years ago, and we had never done it before. We knew a little bit about the process, but we really relied on our loan officer heavily to educate us on what we needed to know, to do, to gather, and then what happens after the mortgage loan closes. And so, that can come in the form of educational content for borrowers on, how does a loan, what happens in the process. That can also come in the form of, loan status alerts. So you're alerting the borrower throughout the process. Here's where you are. Here's what's coming up. Those are things you can also share with a realtor, so they know where your borrower is through the process. And, under that customer service umbrella comes, timely communication with both the realtor and the borrower, closing on time. Obviously things happen, but that was one note that many of the realtors made that really made a difference for them when they worked with a loan officer as well. So, helping that borrower really through the process. And the realtors said when they see a loan officer that does that, it really speaks highly to them of the loan officer's abilities and care for, for their clients. And then, fourthly, I have heard, I've spoken with another loan officer who does a lot of work in this space. And so I'm quoting him here, but he says, you want to make yourself a welcomed guest, not an unwanted pest. So I really liked that, provide value, prove yourself. So, what does that mean? Overwhelmingly, the realtors we spoke with said, be a human first. It's a tough market. So it's really easy to get those business goggles on and really just, focus on, I got to get business, which of course is your focus. But aside from that, take a little step back and build connections. So that kind of falls into the previous 3 points that I talked about. That's all about building connections. Be a human first, ask how they're doing, don't just expect it to be 100%, business focused. Have open and honest communication. So realtors want to know that they'll have a loan officer that we'll shoot straight with them, have timely communication, speak with them honestly about, whatever happens to be the discussion point, whether it's a specific borrower or more generality. And then, of course, proving yourself here also can include reciprocating leads, which we'll talk about a little bit more as well. But as you would hope, realtors would refer business to you. You can also return that favor the other way. So if you happen to be working with somebody who is just starting out the process, you can recommend some realtors that you've worked with that you feel comfortable recommending. And so that can go both ways. And that falls under that proving yourself umbrella that our realtor shared with us. And I'm going to pause here for a quick second before I go to the next slide. Paisley, I saw a question pop up. I didn't know if anybody had any questions related to this before I move forward.
Yes, somebody asked for some additional insight related to what to do at the open houses. And I know you mentioned the flyers and things like that. So I think the question was answered. But if you still have additional questions related to that, feel free to throw them in the Q&A.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, and there's we can probably spend a whole hour talking about different methodologies there, but in speaking with these particular realtors, those were two very specific examples that they shared with us that really resonated with them. If you want to be a part of their open house process, that you can offer those items to them. So let me take our next one. So we talked a little bit about content. So I wanted just to provide you some ideas of suggested content that can fall into the customer service umbrella, provided value umbrella. So this kind of mostly falls into realtor focused content, but wanted to include the borrowers as well. So as we mentioned again, the mortgage market updates email that can go out weekly. And I would put the caveat there, because you're talking about rates, you want to make sure that that communication just goes specifically to realtors. And that's not something that they share then with all of their communications. That's unless you go through a lot of other compliance hoops to make sure everything's compliant when you're talking with, potential borrowers about rates. But if you're just informing realtors, hey, here's what's happening this week in the market, you can send that directly to realtors and, let them know in this communication, hey, this is for your eyes only, just to let you know what's happening in the market. And again, the overwhelming response was that be sent, weekly. If that feels daunting to you, like, I don't think I can get that done weekly, that can be something maybe you do bi-weekly or even monthly. But of course, with rates as they are now, weekly is probably a good cadence. And, this is something that, we've built into some marketing automation that we offer here as well. But that's something that you can build on your own too. And again, it can just be as simple, straightforward as just, bullet points, because it's just really the quick headlines. You want to give somebody something they can read in just a couple of minutes or less, and then move on with their day. And another content suggestion, to realtors would be a monthly newsletter. So this could be, less timely in the sense of things happening instantly in the market, but more overall business news, bigger headlines in the market. You can provide them with, tips and tricks from a marketing standpoint, information, about how to work with loan officers, maybe talk about different loan products to help educate them on, different loan products that could be out there for their potential clients. But again, it's just a nice touch point that is friendly. It kind of humanizes you. It gives them something to look forward to every month and start to know, I'm going to get this information from my realtor every month, and it's going to have, news, business tips, etc. And I don't have this listed on the slide, but, similarly, there could be a newsletter that goes out to borrowers from you as a loan officer as well. And this could go to past borrowers, current borrowers, potential borrowers. And again, more, just a newsletter of tips and tricks about home ownership, or again, educating them on the mortgage process or different loan products, or can have some fun with it, include, seasonal recipes, or, if you're very hyper local, you can include events happening in and around your city if you, lend mostly locally instead of nationally or regionally. So another, potential option there. That's something that we do for our clients, and help put that content together that they can then send out to their borrowers and realtors. Again, on the borrower front, as we talked about, holding the hands of your borrowers really resonates a lot with realtors. And that can come into play with, some email content. Mortgage process 101, what's included in your mortgage payment, what happens, through each step of the way, providing them with status alerts as they're going through the mortgage process. And, of course, that can be, an as needed frequency basis, depending on the level of communication. But, a lot of people want to know what's happening, and you can break it down to them in simple terms. And that, again, helps you become a subject matter expert to your borrowers, but also, shows your realtor partners of, hey, this loan officer really takes care of their borrowers, and I really will feel comfortable sending my clients to them to go through this process. And then, finally, kind of on that same track of thought is, the loan status alerts include the realtor in that process, in that communication. So that kind of adds to the providing value and customer service aspects that our realtors really honed in and talked about being of great importance to them. So let them know what's happening for their borrower, so they're kept up to date in case there's any snags in the process, or they can just know in case the borrower reaches out to their realtor, the realtor can say, oh, I can see you're in the appraisal process, and I can see you're in XYZ process. And that keeps the whole team really cohesive and on the same page, which again says a lot to the borrower. Hey, everybody knows what's happening. I feel really well taken care of. And that really helps, the realtor feel comfortable with you working with their clients as well. So those are just some suggested, content items. Of course, again, we could probably spend a whole hour talking about this, but these kind of fall into some of those bucket categories that our realtors really honed in on as being important to them. And I will pause before I move on. Paisley, if you've got something.
Perfect. I was just about to say, somebody did ask, did realtors suggest setting up an appointment when stopping into open houses, or we're dropping in okay? Leslie, correct me if I'm wrong, but the feedback that I saw from the realtors that did specifically discuss open houses, the big thing from them was definitely let them know or ask if you can come. The drop-in was something that multiple people, at least from what I remember, weren't huge fans of. Is that correct, Leslie?
Yes. Yeah, that was the feedback I got. I'm sure there's a realtor out there who would say, hey, come on, it doesn't bother me. But overwhelmingly, the folks we spoke with specifically didn't like that surprise. So at least a heads up ahead of time was something that they felt was valuable.
And I know we've had tons of good questions related to the open houses in general. So I think that's definitely something, if you guys are interested next month, we could definitely do a deeper dive. I know those realtors were more than happy to provide us additional feedback. So just a heads up on that. And then another question here is there any other types of content related to realtors to help build that relationship outside of the pieces that you mentioned here?
Yeah, that's a good question. And Paisley, if you've got any that you can think of too, I've got a couple ideas. But
go ahead.
So another thing one thing we really like to promote here is recycling content. And so, if you're active on social media, some of these content pieces, particularly, educational content pieces, or if you're doing a monthly business newsletter focused on realtors, you can take little bites of content out of that. If you are on LinkedIn, for example, that's a really great kind of business focused medium you can go on to and share some of that information there as well. Same for if you're on Instagram or Facebook or X, formerly known as Twitter, wherever you are, that content can be repurposed. And so that's another place, we like to recommend if you are on social, that's where a lot of people are looking as well. And that can also help you show up on search results. If you're really active on your social channels, you're putting content out there, but it doesn't mean every time you do that, you have to reinvent the wheel. And, if you're really focused more on email, I think just really staying in that educational content realm. So even breaking down, you could do an email series on, different loan types and who they benefit and what those loan programs are made up of. And we'll kind of talk about this a little bit in the next slide. But if you have, a niche where you really excel, and, that's a place where you can also provide educational content in any medium, blog post, email, social content as well. So those are some things just from what we've talked about with, with realtors, and then just knowledge that we have that I would throw out there instantly. Anything that you would want to add to that, Paisley?
The only other piece I would add is if you know their birthday, for instance, automating some type of, happy birthday email or happy birthday text to them, just some of
Yes.
those personal touches. And again, kind of key is automation. So if you've got that birthday and you've got a tool, whether it's our platform or another that can automate that, it's just an easy, just relationship boosting tool on top of all the, great education that you'll hopefully be providing them.
Yes, we're all about easy wins around here. And those are definitely some easy wins that kind of humanize you, because everybody likes to be remembered on their birthday or a special holiday. So thanks for bringing that up, Paisley.
Of course.
All right. So last little bit here, we had some kind of bonus tips that they offered that maybe didn't fall into a specific category, but I felt was worth sharing, or we kind of touched on it, but I wanted to expand on it a little bit more. Again, several of the realtors really focused on the be human first. So my guess is they've been getting a lot of, reach outs from loan officers that have felt very transactional and not really taking into consideration that, realtors, just like you all, are busy. They have families, they have commitments, they're trying to grow their business, sell homes, support themselves, support their families. So, take that into consideration when you are reaching out, or when you are, even have, had that introduction and said you would like to stop by their open house. Build those connections, offer your help, provide that value, and just always take that step back of, thinking from a human connection. And I know that feels maybe like, of course they're humans. We'll talk to them that way, but for some reason, a lot of these realtors had that feedback. So they must be getting some more, just business only type reach outs. And that was a turnoff for them. So, really thinking about those connections and how you can provide value to their business. And as I mentioned earlier, one thing that a couple of the realtors said really helped them is if they found a loan officer who had a really specialized niche. So maybe you are the VA loan person in your area, or the jumbo loan person, or whatever that, that niche may be, your first time home buyers, or, if your company has a hero program focusing, teachers, first responders, whatever that may be, certainly if you are just more of a generalist, that's completely fine too. But a couple of realtors said that really helped them if they knew they had a loan officer who was really specialized in a particular loan product. And, that's where you can, send emails around that fact, post on social media about that fact. And that can help, kind of put your foot forward as the XYZ, loan person, in your area where you lend. But that was something that really stood out to our realtors if they, had a loan officer who had a specialization and some expertise in that area. And again, as we mentioned earlier too, but, just offering to be a partner. So instead of, kind of the what can you do for me mentality, or even the what can I do for you mentality, but how can we help each other mentality. And again, as we mentioned, the co-branding on an open house flyer, or, providing rate flyers for that open house, or, even as we mentioned, some of those monthly newsletters, could go to realtors, but if you also have, borrower centric newsletters that go out, letting the realtor know of, hey, my clients get this, my potential borrowers get this. I'm here to help them understand the process. How can I help your potential clients? So even just coming to them of what do you need that I can help with? And so again, coming at it from that partnership angle, which again sounds very simple, kind of human interaction 101, but overwhelmingly that seemed to really resonate with the realtors with whom we spoke. And, finally, as I talked about earlier too, but just the reciprocal referrals. So not just looking for the realtor to send referrals your way, but offering, to do the same in return. And, just as much as as the realtor wants to find a loan officer they can trust, you want to do the same thing. And so it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And we have talked about that topic in the past, referral business and networking. We've done a past webinar kind of talking about that and some blog topics as well that you can find that we've talked about that a little bit in more depth. So I won't dig into that too deeply today, but that's another place where you can, provide value and be that welcomed guest to your potential realtor partners and current realtor partners is, offering to reciprocate those referrals as well. So these are just kind of some bonus tips or tips that they really honed in on that I wanted to, focus on here at the end of our presentation. So, again, none of it's really rocket science. Unfortunately, there's no, hey, this is the one thing you can do that will guarantee these relationships will be built. But hopefully we felt like going to the source, as Paisley said, and really talking to realtors in high performing realtors in large markets who are doing a lot of business, they're having success, finding out what works for them and what turns them off, to hopefully give you all some help, some ideas, or maybe just, solidify what you're already doing of, hey, what I'm doing is what they're wanting. So with that, I can turn it back over to Paisley and we can entertain some questions.
Awesome. Yeah. And one other note I wanted to share too, that I noticed with each realtor that we reached out to, they all wanted to be reached out to via email. So send them a quick text. Hey, can we connect? We've got some questions. Everybody, at least the people I reached out to, responded very quickly and was like, great. Yeah. Can you email them? I'll get them back. So just a quick note on that. I think rather than a random call or something like that, I think whether it's a text or an email, since they're busy, it's the best way. At least these top producers we are working with preferred to be reached out to. So just thought that was a good tip to share. And I mean, 5 people all wanted an email, so definitely worth highlighting. But any questions anybody has, I've got a couple of things I'd like to just get your guys' feedback on, and happy to show you any content that we can create and automate if anybody is interested in that as well. Because again, everything we've highlighted, we actually have available in our marketing platforms. Happy to share some of that with you guys if you're interested as well. Let me go ahead and throw up a quick couple polls here, see if we get any questions in the meantime. The first is just understanding the users we have on here, what loan origination systems you guys are utilizing. We do work with all the loan origination systems listed here for the automation. So definitely something we can work directly with you and automate any of this messaging. Looks like we're kind of all over the board, which is great to see. We've got a lot of Point Central and Compass. Great feedback to have. And again, we work with all of those platforms and can do all of this automatically for you guys without you having to even lift a finger. Okay, thank you for the feedback on that one. The next one here is just understanding what you're looking to hear about next month. Again, we host these every single month. We're trying to make sure we're providing the feedback that's important and the information that's important to you guys. So if any of these topics seem interesting, definitely feel free to provide us that feedback and we'll do our best to get that in place for next month. Kind of all over the board again. I see social media is a big one, deeper dive into marketing automation. So it looks like a lot of the marketing is still of interest, as well as open houses and potentially a guest speaker. So this is all great feedback. Let this go just another second here. And I will be getting an email out tomorrow with you for you guys with the recording. I'll also include a link to sign up for next month's webinar. We will have picked our topic hopefully by then. If not, we'll definitely keep you in the loop as we do. And then mentioning the next webinar, if you'd like to attend our next, if you want to let us know, I can go ahead and sign you guys up if you'd like. Again, we'll be emailing that link out to you tomorrow. And then before everybody hops off here, again, I'll just show a little bit of content that we have available that hits these topics that Leslie had mentioned. And again, we can automate all of this for you guys. So the content that I'm showing here is an example that we've put together that we can create weekly that are giving those highlights of what's going on in the industry. We like to be up to date as to what's going on. And as you notice, we present information at the beginning of the webinar as to what's going on. So this is just an easy example of an email that we could automate for you guys. Not only do we just give a quick little summary here of what's going on, but recommend any newsletters and things that they can subscribe to. So just gives them places to get additional content, additional education outside of what you're providing. And then I wanted to highlight an option here too. We put together monthly newsletters. We have a newsletter for realtors. We have a newsletter for borrowers. So it's just an easy thing to get in their inbox once a month. And we provide information as to what's going on in the industry. Again, information related to the month and the time of year that's going on. So it's not all strictly business. We do provide additional information in there. Sometimes, maybe it's a recipe for 4th of July or something like that. So it does have that personal touch to it. And then we have the automated status alerts that Leslie had mentioned as well. So we have tons of alerts that we can automate for you guys. These can go out as texts, they can go out as emails. And the idea is these can pop in the inbox. It's going to give both the borrower and the realtor an idea of where they're at in the process. And again, this can all be automated for you. So as you're processing that loan, these will trigger out for you. You don't have to click anything extra than what you're doing in the platform, and we can automate these for you. Leslie, anything you want to add on the content side?
I don't think so, Paisley. Actually, I was thinking through as you were talking, and I think those covered kind of the big buckets of content options and kind of hits what we talked about previously too. So I think I'm good.
Awesome. Okay, and I see a couple questions here. The first is, how does your marketing work? Is it an additional separate thing from our hosting? Yes, it's a separate platform that we can set up for you. If you have interest, we can definitely reach out to you directly and discuss that with you. What we are offering is anybody interested can go ahead and basically sign up for a free trial for 3 months. Look at the content, decide what you want to turn on, and we can automate any of that for you. I also see, do you have any holidays or other personal touch emails? We do have holiday emails available for you guys. We have the newsletters and things like that. So we definitely have that. Holidays, loan anniversary is a big one. We got that available. Tons of our users actually really like utilizing that one. We also have content related to just education. So for a lead, for instance, really great educational pieces that you can send them. Realtors, as you heard, are really looking for you guys to be the educational piece. So just a place to do that. And then I see somebody asked if there's a way to get the slides. I can figure out if I can attach that in the email that we send tomorrow. If not, if you want to just provide me your email address, I'm more than happy to email those to you. And then I'm going to throw up our last poll here just while we are answering some questions here for you guys. Just if you want any next steps when it comes to our products, our marketing automation, let us know. We're happy to help out. And then asking, are you able to select certain content, or are your marketing emails all the same? Our content that we provide is shared across the board with all users, but we do try to create a variety of different content styles and layouts so that you can select what makes most sense for yourself. So, and also any of our content, if you liked it, but you wanted to tweak anything or add anything, you do have the ability to do that as well. So just depending on what you're looking to do, we do have options for you. And great, thank you for the email address. I'll make sure that I'm getting that PowerPoint shared with you if I can't get it attached. And then again, we'll be posting this on our our YouTube channel as well. So anybody that wants to rewatch this video, it will be available there. And we will be providing that link in our email tomorrow. Okay. Any additional questions that anybody has for us today? I'm going to go ahead and just pull up our contact information here for you guys as well. So if you want to reach out to us directly, feel free. You can give us a call, send us an email. Again, we'll be sending that email out tomorrow. You can respond directly to that to speak with our sales team. And yeah, Leslie, anything you want to add on your end before we hop off here?
No, I don't think so. Just appreciate everybody hopping on with us today. And if any of these things are successful for you, we'd love to hear, that feedback too. That's always helpful.
Yes, agreed. That would be great. Okay, well, thank you everybody for hopping on. Appreciate all of your poll answers and excited to have a number of you on next month. Hope you all have a good rest of your week.